mission work we've been doing down in Mexico with feeding his sheep at missions. And we just recently got back from